All right, first and foremost, we give all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world calls Christ, Yahweh Shai. It's your brother Chief Priest Allah's Auburn Lawyer, aka the Guerrilla Hebrew. Back at y'all with our regularly scheduled program. Live classes Wednesday morning, very early Wednesday morning, 4 a.m. over here. 4 a.m. here in Dallas, where I am currently, 2 a.m. on the West Coast. Real early, 5 a.m. on the East. So, going in again, though, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Salakia. Got a little bit of a cough. I don't know how the hell I got. I mean, it was cold. It was cold as hell in Atlanta for this summit, but it was beautiful. So all praise Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai for that. If y'all missed it, I'll be honest with you, I feel real sorry for you. You missed a hell of a time. A beautiful nationhood, for sure. So, real quick, before we get into class, I'm going to plug the next event we got going on, which is also in Atlanta. Will be taking place this weekend from Friday to Sunday. Hebrew Israelites versus Super Bowl weekend in Atlanta. We'll be joined by our brothers from HOI, House of Israel, the Pull-Up Boys, the infamous world-renowned, world-famous Pull-Up Boys will be joining us this weekend through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai in Atlanta. Again, that's February 1st to February 3rd. We'll be all over the place. I'll be quite frank with you. So, just tap in. And most high will you catch us. Going to be a whole lot of festivities going on in the A all weekend for the Super Bowl, especially amongst our people. Our people, treat Super Bowl like an event. There's a few events that's just huge, amongst the urban community. It'll be the Super Bowl, All-Star, Essence Fest, BET Awards weekend. Those are like the mainstays for, the quote-unquote urban demographic. So, we'll try to be at as many of them as we can through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, if it be as well. So this weekend, certainly, I know I'll be there if it be the Most High will. I'm booked. So we'll see y'all there in the spirit. But yeah, so we're gonna continue on. With history and Torah, as we have been. History and Torah through the spirit. So in the history, we're gonna pick up. We finished Genesis. So now in the history, and Shalom everybody. Try to watch the chat best I can. I got mods in here. Shalom to the brother Jay Leets out of the Netherlands. What's going on, Jay Leets? You Benjamin, you Levi. Holla at me, let me know. Where my mods at? Okay. Yabba Shemal Shabarakatah, Soldier Danyala. He got the pistol in here, so he's good. I want to make sure I got a mod in case any madness pops off. Yeah, for Sister Marianda Rivera, I'm having a painful cough myself, and I'm trying to get rid of it. So, I'm sure we got a health guru of some sort in the live chat, man. So, somebody could help us out. Yeah, Mank 48. I'm on the Kev Mac live stream all the time, man. Big shout out to the brother Kev Mac for doing his thing and documenting a very intricate part of our history here in the diaspora in America. So yeah, I'll be in the Kev Mac all the time, either on this channel or on my our other channel, Sicarii Public Enemies. I'm an Israelite brother from Chicago, in the truth for 16 months now. I love the content, lots to learn. Kind of all praises go 24. We got brothers in Chicago, so if you want a link, it ain't nothing but a word, brother. It ain't nothing but a word. All praise to the Most High. Email address, I'll type the email address. I just typed the email address in the chat box, Exodus without the E, 1715 at gmail.com. Do you guys have an email? That email address right there is what you need. All right, for sure, Mac. Stockton, we got brothers building right now up in that Northern California area in Sacramento and San Francisco. So, tune in. Yeah, Chris, but wait till you get a load. I want y'all to know something. we went outside of that Magic City. Okay, what a lot of y'all don't know is after the summit, we went outside of Magic City through the spirit and power of Yahweh Basham Yahushai. You know, the world-renowned, world-famous strip club. It may not be the most popular in Atlanta now. You know, times and fads change. But as far as historically, that's the #1 strip club and the most famous strip club amongst Black America, period, in the world. So through the spirit and power of Yahweh Basham Yahushai, we went out in front of that Magic City and we condemned it. We prophesied against it and the people that were entering it, the sisters that were working in it. We preached repentance to, but we also brought condemnation to. So look for those videos, you know, dropping within the next week or so. Powerful, powerful. I'm telling y'all, if y'all missed this summit, man, like I said, my heart goes out to you because you missed some of the most beautiful displays of nationhood, brotherhood, sisterhood amongst Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans as has ever been displayed. It was powerful. It was very, very powerful. So, I want to get into the history portion. So we're going to be going into Exodus. Now we've already gone over Exodus from the legal perspective. Now we're going over Exodus from the historical perspective. So we're going to be going over the history and what's being told about, you know, how it affects us and how we came to be as a nation here in Exodus and the intricate details of it, right? So 52 below zero here in Minnesota. Yeah, y'all, hey, look, y'all in Minnesota is bugging. Be real. Oh, Shathar, Tazapanya, Banya Howard, I see you in the building. But let's go. Okay, so let's get started. Exodus 1:1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. So every man in his household, meaning if he had a wife or wives, servants, children, they all journeyed into Egypt, led by our father Yaquab, Jacob, or Israel, Yasharahla in the Hebrew. Verse 2, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Okay, so it's naming all the children in the order in which they were born. Reuben 1, Simeon 2, Levi 3, Judah 4, Issachar 5, Zebulun 6, Benjamin. Ooh, it's not naming them in order. Salaki, I spoke soon. It's too soon because Benjamin was born last. So I don't know why it's ordered this way because it's in order Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. That's in perfect and total order. Oh, Salaki, I understand why. I believe it's due to who they were born by. Okay, Salaki, because Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, we are all the sons of Leah. Issachar and Zebulun, I believe, are sons of the concubine of Rachel, which basically they were surrogate mothers, so they'd be reckoned technically as Rachel's children, and then Benjamin, of course, being Rachel's child as well. And you have Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, which were children of Leah's concubine. Okay, I believe that's why it's like that. If I'm mistaken, somebody please correct me. Moving on. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. And for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. Why is it important? Why am I emphasizing and all that generation? Because when we go back to Genesis 15, which we've already gone over in earlier portions of the history, we understand it said in 4 generations, we go into Egypt and then out of Egypt and back into the land of the Amorites. And this is important, is emphasizing that first generation where it started. And if you track those generations through the Chronicles, you see that it was 4 generations from us going into Egypt to leaving, as opposed to a literal 400 years of subjection. All right, but we've already covered that through the Spirit a few times. So go and check those videos in regards to that out for further edification on that topic. Verse 7, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt. So, hold on, let me read this again. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly. It was promised to us that we would have this ability to rapidly reproduce. And we did in Egypt the same way we do in America, the same way we do it everywhere we go as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. We have stereotypes, and they make jokes about our innate ability to rapidly reproduce, but it is in part what sustains us, and it's a blessing. You know, we live in a time where the white man has tricked people into thinking that, you know, the hyper fertility that our people, you know, are stereotyped with is a negative thing. But in fact, it's not. It's a blessing from God. But Yahushua told us things like this would occur, and you know, things would be changed in the earth to where you would be called cursed if you were pregnant, and you were fruitful. But in fact, the truth of the matter is you're not, right? Continuing on, and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. So now that you couldn't go anywhere without seeing us. They say this about us now. We can't go anywhere. We're seeing these blacks and these Hispanics. They're taking over. They're going everywhere, right? Verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. So this new ruler of Egypt didn't have the familiarity to Joseph as the previous ruler, right? Verse 9. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So the Egyptians with fear are looking at us as we are rapidly reproducing, and we're growing as a people, and we have strength, and we have wherewithal, we have knowledge, and it put them in fear. The same way every nation is in fear of the potential of us overthrowing them, outgrowing them in the land that they currently had control over. This is a real fear that was always present in any nation that we've ever been to, and we can witness this now in any nation that we are in, right? Verse 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them. So now they're taking up a crafty counsel against us. That's what it means to come on and let us deal wisely. What is dealing wisely? Dealing cunningly, right? Being a cunning hunter, right? That's what they were at this time. Now they're not as a cunning hunter as an Esau, but they certainly did hunt us in a very cunning fashion. Okay, and this is in part what Esau patterned his whole way that he's hunting us in this time off of. And we can clearly see it, which is why we know that this is the spiritual Egypt that's spoken about in Scripture. Because they do all the same things to us here that they did to us in ancient Egypt. Right? One second. Salakia. So let me start back from the top of Exodus 1 and 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them. Let us, at least they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they also join unto our enemies. Salakia. 1 second. I'm going to start back from the top of 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. You see that? So they saw how deep we was getting. They was afraid. They started to subjugate us and enslave us, quite frankly. And the more that they put hell on us, the more we grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. It was grievous. In the same way now, every nation are grieved at the sight of niggas and spics. They hate us, man. They hate us. You see what I'm saying? And it's grievous to them to see us everywhere, to see us multiplying, to see us in any facet of life. It's grievous to the heathens. And why is it grievous? Because they have an envy. Because there's something about us that is so unique and is so special, and that they can never possess, duplicate, or you know, is often imitated but never duplicated about us, because we have the Spirit of the Most High residing in us in a way that no one else does. It makes people hate you. It grieves people that you exist, that there's somebody who is so well favored with God that they're like this. That messes with people. It makes people envious and jealous. And when people are jealous and envious, they are motivated to do heinous things. You know, period. Verse 13. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. Right? So they made the bondage that they had us in even worse, to serve with rigor. Rigorous bondage, right? Real quick, let me look at the etymology of rigor while I'm at it. rigor. Let me see. Strength, hardness, roughness, rudeness, firmness, hardness, stiffness, numbness. To be stiff, essentially, is what it means. So, I mean, it was working the hell out of us, essentially. Let's take a look at this word in the Hebrew, matter of fact. Parak. So, Strong's H6531, Parak. It means harshness, severity, cruelty. So, they were cruelly ruling over us. Right? So, it says, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, and they made themselves bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all matter of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them to serve was with rigor. So oftentimes you'll hear brothers speak about us building the pyramids, and there are certainly certain of the pyramid structures that we can be accredited for building, but not all of them. Israel, we did not build all of the pyramids, but we built some of them. Some of those pyramids, if you look at them, were messed up. They weren't coming to points. You know, it was a lot of, they always show the ones that, you know, they deemed the perfected ones. But they failed plenty of times at building those pyramids. Plenty of times. So it really took, you know, the spirit and the skill that God gave us and blessed us innately with for them to, you know, use our free labor during this time period to perfect some of the pyramids. You understand what I'm saying? And our brothers of, you know, not just of the northern kingdom, because we talk about this a lot. You know, the Sicarii pyramids, the Zebulonite pyramids, Gadite pyramids, Asherite pyramids that were wonderful. Even the Ephraimites in Puerto Rico were building small pyramids as well. Even some West African tribes of Israel, prior to being carted off into slavery, were also building smaller pyramids. So, and if you look at the architectural way that those pyramids are laid out that we built for ourselves, either in West Africa or here in the Americas, you see a more superior architectural layout. You see more elaborately built, but also more symmetrical, more, you know, shapely and better fit together pyramids than you actually do in Egypt. You could take a look at a lot of sloppy craftsmanship in Egypt versus what we actually built for ourselves, what we did in slave labor. So that's always an interesting fact. But again, I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent on that. It says, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar, in mortar and in brick and in all matter of service of the field. So yes, we were constructing these structures for them, these megalithic structures, but also we were doing all manner of service of the field, all their service. So we were serving them, and wherein they made them to serve was with rigor. So in all the things that we were doing for them as their working class, as their slaves, was with rigor. They were ruling over us harshly, stiffly, severely, cruelly, right? Verse 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, to see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. What is the divisiveness of doing this? They know, and everybody damn well knows, the way a nation is continued is through the line of men, lineage, right? So they knew if we killed the men and left the women, then we could go ahead and marry their women when they grow up, and we are going to essentially screw this people out of existence, for lack of a better term. It's the population control that they were trying to do. The white man has his own device of that now, Planned Parenthood. You can kill the kid before you find out whether it's a boy or a girl at Planned Parenthood, as well as his other various devices of population control. So he's outdone it. But the Egyptians introduced this on our people, population control. So as we are coming to be as a nation, here we have an oppressive nation ruling over us, whose borders we live within, that is already practicing population control. This is how much of a threat we are at the inception of the nation of Israel. This is how much of a threat we are, period, right? Verse 17. But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. So because of their fear of the Most High, they refused to kill our male babies, right? And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said, why have ye done this thing and have saved the men children? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women. This is very important to understand. And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women. So these women of Israel and these women of Egypt, these Kemetic women and these Hebrew women, they are different. Let's see how they elaborate. For they are lively. You see that? These Israelite women are lively. And the Hamite woman is expressing to this Hamite man, they're not like us. They're more lively. They're a little bit less subservient. There's just things that they're not going for. You see what I'm saying? That we may go for. And we can see that if you juxtapose and compare and contrast the ways that the Hamitic woman is versus the ways that the Israelite woman, the women of the tribes are. Our women of our tribes are renowned across the world for their attitude. African women are not known for their attitude. What is the attitude that the Somalian or the Ethiopian woman or the South African woman is known for? They're not known for any of that. They're not renowned for any of that. You go to a lot of these countries in Africa and those women are in perfect and total order under their man. 9 times out of 10. But you come in with our women, they're lively. You see what I'm saying? This lets us know, and this actually exposes the idiotic ideology that we, us people who are part of the diaspora who've been brought to America through the transatlantic slave trade, are Kemetic. This kills it. Why? Because it says the Egyptian women aren't lively, but the Hebrew women, they are lively. You see what I'm saying? This also quells the whole ideology that this is talking about a damn white woman. This is talking about the Hebrew. It's just talking about a black and Hispanic Native Indian woman. There is the best way that I could say to describe them is lively, right? So verse 20, therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. So here we are. They try to put in that population control, but here it is. See, the white man got that out the way. They got the abortion pill now. You don't even got to deal with killing and looking at the baby. We could, before it even grows into anything, we're going to give you a pill that's going to force an abortion. Evil as hell. See, he read this and he learned from it and said, I know a more exponential way for me to control that population. Not wait until the child is born. Kill it before it even develops fully in the womb. But now you got places like the state of New York. They just legalized what? Abortion up to birth. That's madness. It's like a son of Gad, Yahweh Shem Yahushua Barakatah Wathawada, for your donation, your support for the body, for the ministry. We greatly appreciate it. I'm gonna try to come back to it because I'm reading off of the computer actually, so I'm not watching the chat. So I'm gonna come back to the chat periodically. But Chris, if you weren't able to make the summit, I feel bad for you. But like I said, I'll be there this weekend again, all weekend. And of course, we got our camp in Atlanta every week at CNN Center anyway. All right. Summits are now like, it was about three a year. Now it's about 2 a year. So look for the next one in August, most high one, I think. I don't know for sure, but when I get confirmation, I'll be sure to let everybody know for sure. And it came to pass, okay, boom, and Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. So now he's trying to throw us into the river, right? Once he realized the midwives ain't have the heart to do it. So now it's Exodus 2:1. And it says that when a man of the house of Levi and took to wife a daughter of Levi, and the woman conceived and bare a son, and she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months. Why? Because they were going to kill him. So she hid the child. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it on the flags by the river bank. So she built essentially a basket for this baby and put him in the water. And the sister stood afar off. So what would be done to him, right? So of course, his sister taking concern for the life of her baby brother. You know, she sees her baby brother being put in a basket and put on a river. And she's wondering, of course, with concern, with fear, with sorrow, what's going to happen to my brother? While she watched all this, right? And this is shown, if you watch the movie Prince of Egypt, that part they show masterfully, right? Verse 5. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked alongside by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent unto her maid to fetch it. What's that, right? And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept, and she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. So she sees the baby. She realizes what it is. This is a Hebrew Israelite child. She understands what happened. But when she takes a look at this powerful Levite child, this charming so-called Haitian man, she's taken aback, so she has compassion on him, right? Verse 7. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. So this is how spiritually it was set up. The idea was, okay, you got this Hebrew baby, so let's get a Hebrew woman who's nursing so she can nurse the child. He needs to drink milk, right, from his own people's breast. So of all the people, who do they get? Well, number one, they got to go amongst the women that are what? Lactating. You can't nurse a child if you're not lactating, right? So amongst the women that were lactating, his mother, of course, happened to be one, and his mother's name was called. So look at how the Holy Spirit had this all set up. Most High designed this as the wonderful architect that he is, right? So it says, and Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. Salakia. Boom. So she nursed it, brought it up, but he was essentially adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. And she came, and she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out the water, which Moses in the Hebrew Masharah means drawn out. Verse 11. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, right? He grew up, grown man. And he says that he went unto his brethren, right? And this happens. Certain people, you know, they go through this. If you're adopted, people who are adopted go through this. You grow up and you have this family that raises you, and that's cool and stuff, you know, and you could love them or feel however you want to feel about them. But eventually you're going to go, okay, well, where in the hell do I come from? Who are my people? That's who I want to see about. You know, I have a older brother who was given up for adoption. My father and his mother had gave him up for adoption when he was young. And, you know, when he got to a certain age, he wanted to meet, you know, my pops and us. You know what I'm saying? He knew about my father, of course, and about, you know, that he had siblings by my father. So, you know, when he got grown, he sucked out his family, you know, and it's natural. You know, you want to know where you actually come from biologically, the people whom you descend from. It's important, and you have a kindred spirit with these people naturally, because that's how the Most High dispenses spirit, through patrilineage. This is scientifically proven. So moving on, it says, and looked on their burden. So he went and saw his people, the Israelites. He looked at the hell that we were going through, and he spied an Egyptian smiting in Hebrew one of his brothers. So he saw essentially an act of, in that day, what would be what we would understand today as police brutality. He saw an overseer. Remember what Kara said? Officer, overseer. You see what I'm saying? He saw an Egyptian that was overseeing us Israelites, smiting, beating one of us. And let's see what he did. Verse 12. And he looked this way and that way. So he looked around, see if anybody could see. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hit him in the sand. So once he saw that nobody was watching other than the brother and that damn Hamite heathen, he killed that man and buried his body in the sand, right? Because he couldn't deal with police brutality. Moses grew up with them Egyptians, but he felt such a strong connection to his people, as we all should feel. He felt such a strong connection to his people that he couldn't stand 1 second, even though he didn't grow up with us. Go 24th the water, brother. Yahbashem Yahushua Barakatah. Though he didn't grow up with us. And this is the interesting thing. And this is how spiritual it is and powerful it is. He ain't grew up with us, right? But he still loved his people because he knew that's where he came from. You see what I'm saying? He still loved his people. So he still was that angered to see what his people were going through that it drove him to kill a man. Very interesting, right? But when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together, and he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smartest thou thy fellow? See, we got to take a look. You got to analyze Mo right here. Moses, the powerful brother that he was. He goes, he sees police brutality. Let's put it in a modern day scope. He sees a cop doing something bad to his brother. So he kills that cop. Then when he comes back, he sees brothers fighting amongst each other. And he's not understanding why this is going on. Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? Why are you fighting your brother, is what he's saying. You see what I'm saying? So it's interesting because you have examples like this in the world today. I guess the best example would be a Colin Kaepernick. White people got upset at the stand that Colin was taking, and they started putting pictures of his adopted family, all whites, about how he grew up in white privilege, etc. But just like Moses grew up in what would be considered white privilege during that time, even though the people weren't white and it wasn't predicated upon skin color or white supremacy. It was predicated upon Egyptian supremacy. It's supremacy of the people who were the descendants of Mizraim. That was the supremacists of that time. You see what I'm saying? So he grew up in the privilege that it was to be a part of Pharaoh's household. He grew up in that. But he still couldn't take that his people, though he didn't grow up around them, were suffering affliction at the hands of the Egyptians who he did grow up around. So he did something about it. What did he do? He killed a man. So then when he comes back and he sees brothers fighting amongst each other because he didn't grow up in that environment where we always going at each other, it's hard for him to understand, well, why would we be fighting? We're going through all this hell. But he's being logical here. A lot of our people, we look at each other all day like we're the problem. We're not dealing with the root core of the issue. Moses, having his unique view, had that understanding. And these couple verses are telling us a lot about him right here that we often just kind of go breeze over and are not paying full attention to like we should through the Spirit. Right? So he said, why are you fighting your brother? And let's see what this nigga, and then you telling me this is a white person. You got it?
Yeah. Yes.
This is a white person who says this. Let's find out. Verse 24. Go ahead.
This is Exodus chapter 2, verse 24. And God
14, Salakia.
Okay, God. It says, and he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us?
This is a nigga, man. This is not a white person. Not some Arab. Here it is. Hold on, bro. Why y'all fighting? Nigga, who made you? Who put you in charge? That's really what was said, right? Essentially, so you can understand. So we can put it in modern day term. Nigga, who put you in charge? Nigga, I'm a grown ass man. You don't run me. We're the only people that act like that. No other nation acts like that. So here's Moses, avenged a brother, killed a damn Hamite on behalf of a brother, and here you have two brothers fighting. And he's wondering, why the hell are you y'all fighting? Y'all brothers. Nigga, who put you over me? Right? Read.
Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian?
Oh, you gonna kill me like you did that Egyptian? This is what this is niggas, man. This ain't nobody but our people. It can't be. Because don't nobody else act like this. Nobody else is this ungrateful about getting saved. You understand what I'm saying? Our people are crazy sometimes. But when we read this Bible, we understand that we are the people of the Bible because we are the only people that acts like this. Again, going back to that first chapter when it speaks about our women being lively. Now this, You mean to tell me we're reading about the very earliest inception of the nation of Israel, and this is how it's describing and showing us they act, and we're not deducing that this is us? We're crazy for thinking that this is us. The Jewish people that you know today do not act like this. They don't fit any of the descriptions. I would love for you to go in this Bible and show me and make it come to life how it is fitting the description of a Jewish person who stinks so damn bad they got kicked off the damn plane. That was hilarious to me. Right? So keep going.
It says, and Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known.
Now he like, damn, where I thought I got rid of that body good, but these, Jake, we get to talking. Our people get to yapping at the gum. Hey, you see that nigga come down and kill that Egyptian? That nigga wasn't playing, right? So now he knows people are gonna find out he committed a murder, right? Or what some would call a murder, I would call a killing. I would call it just killing, right? He was in fear that people were gonna find out, and that he would, of course, suffer some type of legal persecution. So what does a Negro do when he commits a crime and he feels like the police gonna catch him? He goes on the run, right? So let's see what Moses did. Read.
Now when Pharaoh heard this, when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh.
He got up out of there. He ran because he was afraid of legal persecution, right? So go ahead.
From the face of Pharaoh, and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now the priests of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds.
So they thought Mo was Egyptian. And the reason why they thought he was Egyptian was, of course, he had the appearance of an Egyptian. He had the clothing style, etc. So he appeared to be an Egyptian, right? Read.
An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us, and watered the flock. And he said unto his daughters, and where is he? Why is it that ye have left the man? Call him that he may eat bread.
Well, why did you leave him there? Let's show some hospitality to this brother who delivered you from those shepherds, right? Read on.
And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter.
All right, so Moses found a place to call home, and the man gave him his daughter, right? Read.
And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been called a stranger. It's like, I have been a stranger in a strange land.
That's right, because Gershom, Gar, Sham in the Hebrew means stranger, right? So are Israelites called strangers? Well, that's a prime example right there, right? Read on.
And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage.
Still sighed. Still going through hell. Nothing stopped. Read.
And they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them.
That's right. So when these idiots say that the Most High don't respect persons, they're not understanding, and they'll utilize that to say that any nation can make it. Of course, he doesn't respect persons in judgment. You do wrong, you receive for the wrong that you did. But nationally, he respects people. Who does he respect on a national level? The nation of Israel. See what I'm saying? He respects us. And he heard our cry. And he devised an ingenious plan that he made really from the beginning to save us out of the hands of the Egyptian. Right? So read.
Exodus 33 verse 1. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame, and a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush.
The burning bush. Salaki, go ahead.
And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, while the bush is not burnt. And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, God called him. God called unto him out of the midst of the bush, and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God.
Yeah, he was like, damn, this is crazy. This is the God of my fathers here. Right? Read.
And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction
the water, Sister Marianda Rivera. Shalom. Go ahead.
I have surely seen the affliction of my people, which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptian, and to bring them out of that land unto a good land, unto a land flowing with milk and with honey, unto the place of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come up unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. Come now therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt.
So he's setting the stage and saying, hey, Moses, you're going to be the deliverer. You're going to be the savior for Israel that I'm going to use as a vessel. Right? Read.
And Moses said unto God, Who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt?
Mo looking like, man, who the hell am I? Well, you're the guy that I chose. You're the guy that ran away up out of Egypt, and you've been sitting up over here in the land of Midian, and now it's time for you to get on your job and go get your people. Read on.
And he said, Certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee, that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve God upon this mountain. And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, The God of your fathers has sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am.
So God, who is God? That's the angel that's been speaking to him since the beginning of this chapter, if you've been following. God, right? Not the Most High, God, right? This angel says, what? I am that I am. The angel says, YASHARAHLA, right? I am that I am. Read.
Come, and he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you.
I am is the angel's name. Ahia is the angel's name, right? Read.
And God said moreover unto Moses.
But he said moreover. He said, I've come to you. But he said moreover, more importantly than what I just told you about me. Read.
Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel.
This is what you should say to the children of Israel, which is what? Read.
Yahweh.
Who?
Yahweh.
Yahweh. Read.
Of your fathers.
Notice, Ahia is not the God of your fathers. Yahweh of your fathers. Ahia, I am that I am, is him referencing himself, the angel. And guess what? This angel is Yahweh Shai. Spoiler alert. Right? But he says the God of your fathers is Yahweh. He says what? Read.
Yahweh of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
Read on.
Has sent me unto you.
That's who's been sent to Moses, and Moses is being sent to Israel by Yahweh. That's what the angel is instructing Moses to say. You go say the God of your fathers, whose name is Yahweh, is who has sent me to you. Right? Read.
This is my name forever.
This is my what?
Name forever.
Nothing else is name forever. Yahweh, Achad, is his name forever. Right? Meaning alone. Read on.
And this is my memorial unto all generations.
Unto what?
All generations.
Some generations.
All generations.
All generations will remember the name Yahweh, not Ahia. See? So read.
Go and gather the elders of Israel together, and say unto them, The Yahweh of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared unto me, saying, I have surely visited you, and seen that which is done to you in Egypt. And I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt unto the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. And they shall hearken to thy voice, and thou shalt come, thou and the elders of Israel, unto the king of Egypt, and ye shall say unto him, The Yahweh God, power of the Hebrews hath met with us. Now let us go. We beseech thee 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to Yahweh our God. And I am sure that the king of Egypt will not let you go, no, not by a mighty hand. And I will stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with all my wonders, which I will do in the midst thereof, and after that he will let you go. And I will give this people favor.
So he had the whole plan set up. Listen, we're going to deliver Israel from Egypt by you, and guess what? You're going to go to him, and he's not going to accept it. We're going to destroy that nigga. We're going to just do all this stuff so the Most High can be glorified. Read. All this stuff that we got going on, the battles that we win, it's all for the glorification of Yahweh. Read.
And I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and it shall come to pass that when ye go, ye shall not go empty. But every woman shall borrow of her neighbor, and of her that sojourneth in her house, jewels of silver, and jewels of gold, and raiment, and ye shall put them upon your sons and upon your daughters, and ye shall spoil the Egyptians.
So what is God telling us to do? To rob people. He's saying to rob the Egyptians. The Egyptians got to be robbed. We got to go in there and it says borrow from them and essentially steal from them. What it's saying? God is commanding this. You know what God you people think you serve. But this God, my God, the God of the Bible, Yahweh, is instructing his people to go rob Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we're going to chapter 4. All right, Exodus 4:1. And Moses answered and said, But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, Yahweh have not appeared unto thee. He said, man, these niggas gonna say I'm crazy. The same way anybody say you crazy if you said God appeared unto you, right? And Yahweh said unto him, What is it in that? What is that in thine hand? And he said, A rod. And he said, Cast it to the ground. And he cast it to the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before. So that was frightening and startling to our forefather Moses, to see his staff turn into a serpent, right? And Yahweh said unto Moses, Put forth thine hand, and take it in by the tail. And he put forth his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. So he grabbed it and it became a rod again, right? So it was a miracle that was just performed. Verse 5. That they may believe that Yahweh, power of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, hath appeared unto thee. Right? So he said, listen, I'm gonna give you the ability to do this, so you can convince Israel that you are from God and you have gotten powers bestowed upon you, and you've been divinely selected to partake on a mission that will end in our salvation. Right? Verse 6. And Yahweh said furthermore unto him, Put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. He had a white hand. All that melanin was depleted out of his hand. And that was alarming to our brother Moses. Verse 7. And he said, Put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again, and he plucked it out of his bosom, and behold, it was turned again as the other flesh, melanated again, that dark brown. Right? Verse 8. And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe thee, neither hearken to the voice of the first sign, that they will believe the voice of the latter sign. Right? So he said, listen, I'm going to give you the ability to give yourself leprosy and change it back. I'm going to give yourself ability to take this rod and make it into a snake. They better believe one of these things. Verse 9. And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe these two signs, well, if they don't believe either of those, neither hearken unto thy voice, that thou shalt take of the water of the river and pour it upon the dry land, and the water which thou takest out of the river should become blood upon the dry land. So he said, if those two things don't work, I'm gonna top that. Take a little bit of water, splash it on the ground, and I'm gonna have you make it turn to blood, right? And Moses said unto Yahweh, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. He's not an eloquent speaker, right? And that was the issue for him, especially taking in the fact that, yes, he also communicated and spoke Hebrew, but he grew up predominantly where? In Pharaoh's house. So Pharaoh's language is his first language. I'm sure that also contributed to his lack of being eloquent and his fear of public speaking to the Israelites, that he wasn't as articulate in the language as they may have been, right? Verse 11. And Yahweh said unto him, Who have made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have not I Yahweh? So we clearly know the answer, that he made all this stuff. Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee and what thou shalt say. And he said, O my Lord, send, I pray thee, by the hand of him whom thou wilt send. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Moses. Right? Yahweh's already upset because Moses is trying to find loopholes and excuses. So what did Yahweh say? And he said, it is not Aaron the Levite thy brother. I know that he can speak well. And also, behold, he cometh forth to meet thee. And when he seeth thee, he will be glad in his heart. So you have a brother named Aaron that you left in Egypt. He ain't seen you in a while. When you do run back into him, he's going to be happy to see you. And he's also an eloquent brother. Let's get him on deck, and we're going to make something out of him as well. Right? So Moses brought his brother with him. And thou shalt speak unto him, and put words in his mouth. And I will be with thy mouth, and with his mouth, and will teach you what ye shall do. So, essentially, Yahweh was giving Moses what? Instructions to teach Aaron what he needs to say, and he's going to give him guidance to say what he needs to say in order to do the will of the Most High, right? And verse 16, and he shall be thy spokesman unto thy people, and he shall be, even he shall be to thee instead of a mouth, and thou shalt be to him instead of a God. See that? So he's the prophet, and he's the God. Aaron's the prophet, and Moses is the God in this instance. And but Aaron is that spokesman or that representative. And that's what his position in Israel represents. Verse 17. And thou shalt take his rod in thine hand, wherewith thou shalt do signs. Right? So the Aaron's rod is going to be magic. It's going to be able to, so for lack of a better term, it's going to have power. It's going to be able to do things. We see this as we read, I believe a couple weeks ago on this class, we read about it. Or no, when we went into the Ark of the Covenant, right? We went into the staff of Aaron and its importance and the power that the Most High bestowed upon it for specific reasons, right? Verse 18. And Moses went and returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said unto him, let me go, I pray thee, and return unto my brethren which are in Egypt, and see whether they be yet alive. And Jethro said, Moses, go in peace. Right? So look, I'm going to go. I'm going to see what's good with my brothers. And Jethro was cool with that, right? Verse 19. And Yahweh said unto Moses in Midian, go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought thy life. So the niggas that wanted to kill you, the people who wanted to persecute you for killing that Egyptian, they're dead anyway. So don't even worry about any repercussions when you enter into this land. And Moses took his wife and his sons and set them upon an ass, and he returned to the land of Egypt. So here he comes with his wife Zipporah and with his sons Gershom and Eleazar that he had, right? Or Eleazar. And Moses took the rod of God in his hand. Verse 21. And Yahweh said unto Moses, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand, but I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go. So he said, look, do everything I told you to do, but just a forewarning, Mo. He ain't gonna listen to you, but for the way that this gotta play out, go and do it anyway. Right? Verse 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith Yahweh, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. It's hilarious because a lot of times, a lot of non-messianics will run to this. How is Jesus the firstborn if Israel's the firstborn? You can go all over this Bible and find places where people or tribes are referenced to being the firstborn. Joseph is called the firstborn at one point. Is that a lie? No. Levi is called the firstborn. Judah is called the firstborn. So we have to understand contextually what it means to be the firstborn. So in this instance, Israel is my firstborn. It's of the nations, of all the nations. That's who Yahweh gives preferential treatment for, puts as number one, is Israel. We're the firstborn in that instance of the nations. Then you have an individual that's the firstborn. That's Yahweh Shai. Then you have tribes that are firstborn in certain contexts. Levi having the priesthood firstborn. Joseph getting that double portion of anointing firstborn, and then ultimately becoming the leader of the northern kingdom, right? And then Judah firstborn being the kings of the entire nation. So those are different contexts in which the Most High deals with a firstborn. But being firstborn is just a concept that denotes that preferential treatment, right? A lot of times if you have siblings, you know, sometimes people feel unfair how much the oldest gets away with things, is babied more, etc. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that the oldest is the firstborn. So it's the parent's introduction to having a child. So there's a softer spot there for that particular child, right? Verse 23, though, still here in Exodus 4. And I say unto thee, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn. And it came to pass by the way in the end that Yahweh met him and sought to kill him. So the firstborn of Salakia, Israel is the firstborn. So now it's jumping to a brief story that the Most High wants to kill Moses. And there's a reason he wants to kill Moses, and it'll be elaborated here in verse 25. Then Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet and said, surely a bloody husband art thou to me, right? Because the reason why that Moses was sought to be killed by the Most High was because he was neglecting to circumcise his child, which was the custom of the Israelites. So we see some of that Egyptian might have rubbed off on our beloved brother Mo. And that may have been why he was, beating around the bush about circumcising his child, right? Verse 26. So he let him go, and she said, a bloody husband thou art because of the circumcision, right? Verse 27. And Yahweh said to Aaron, go into the wilderness to meet Moses. So now Yahweh was appearing unto the brother of Moses, Aaron, and compelling him by the Holy Spirit to go into the wilderness and meet Moses. And he went and met him in the mount of God and kissed him. He was happy to see his brother, so he saluted him. He embraced him. That's what that means. Now they were kissing on the mouth, right? Verse 28. And Moses told Aaron all the words of Yahweh, who had sent him, and all the signs which he had commanded him. And Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. And Aaron spake all the words which Yahweh had spoken unto Moses, and did the signs in the sight of the people. So now they're doing these things to prove themselves to the nation, and the people believed. So all they did, they showed these things that they can do, and Israel believed. And when they heard that Yahweh had visited the children of Israel, and that he had looked upon their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshiped. So now they're praising Yahweh because they're so happy that finally somebody gives a damn and cares enough to come and visit their affliction and give them a path to salvation, like the Most High did for us in this instance with our brother Moses. In the same way, our people should be thanking the Most High, bowing and worshiping, because he's also offered in these times a path to salvation, and that's through Hamashiach Yahushua. Through him getting on that cross, him going through that gruesome, torturous murder that or killing that took place to him, going through all of that, man, to open up that path of salvation for us, we should certainly be bowing our heads and worshiping on account of that. I'll tell you that now. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. All right. All right. We're gonna bring this to a light close. We should be on live later as well for the Situation Room, so y'all stay tuned for that. But yeah, we're gonna bring this to a brief close. But yeah, we'll be back with y'all next week again. You in Atlanta, come see us for the Super Bowl weekend. With that, we give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and say Shalom.